Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Dave Taylor. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Impartner, and I'm really excited to run through with you some of the predictions that Impartner is making for the channel. The indirect channel is very important to us, and I assume it is very important to you as well. And we'll give you a couple of insights into what we think is going to happen in the channel in the following 12 months. Obviously, this is there's no science to this; it's an art, and so we'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are. On the last slide, there's my email address and Impartner's Twitter handle, and we'd love to hear from you. What items you think we might have missed off of here. And by the way, you'll also find a few of these are a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So we'll just go. We've got an hour scheduled for this, but I think we'll get through it quite a bit faster than that. The only problem is I have just a huge number of slides, and it looked like I had way too many slides to go through. And so what I did is I went through and I deleted the slide numbers off a lot of them, so it looks like there are fewer. So I hope that helps. It actually will take just as long, but it won't feel as long because some of the slides don't have numbers. No, I'm only joking about that. All right, I'm going to start off just very quickly talking about why why we're here having this conversation. What is it that drives us and you to be concerned with what's happening in the channel over the next 12 months? And I would characterize it, and if I could do better impersonations, I'd use my best Jeff Goldblum voice. But really, we feel this amazing pressure that we must go faster. If you can picture Jeff in the back of the Jeep with the T-Rex closing in, must go faster. And I share that with you both as an observer of the indirect channel in general and as a company in today's market trying to drive our own business. And so this relentless pressure that we're under, both to scale, we got to grow fast because we all work and operate now in a very efficient environment, and what you currently have as a differentiator for your business may very well not be a differentiator next year. And so you really need to drive that growth and that scale while you're able to. And I don't know about your business, but most businesses that we talk to do feel a huge amount of margin pressure as well. So a lot of factors working here. As our company scales, we're finding it difficult to hire enough really good salespeople. There are some areas where it's easier than others, but for those of you who are I mean no offense by this, but for those of you based in the Bay Area, good luck trying to find somebody that you can hire that's what I would consider an enterprise-ready, SaaS knowledgeable, really good sales skills. They're very tough to come by, and that's one of the contributing factors that makes indirect channel so attractive. And we'll talk in a minute about brand importance and why I list that. But I hope you're all familiar with the phrase Google's ZMOT, their zero moment of truth. And what I want to share with you about that zero moment of truth, this is something that dates back a few years, but we do find today that by the time you, as a vendor, get involved in the sales process, Google says, by the way, that your customers will be 70 to 80% of the way down the decision cycle before you get involved. I'm agreeing with that. I have no problem with that. But I'm suggesting that your channel partners get involved much sooner. We did some research in one of my former companies with our channel partners, and we found that in a large percentage of deals, The partner was recommending to the end customer what product they should purchase, and then bringing the deal to us. And so they do sit kind of at a more critical position in that zero moment of truth than vendors do. And so all of these things taken together add up to create this real emphasis and need for the indirect channel. The data that I'm pulling from on the slide that you're looking at right now, this is Gartner's estimate that the spending in 2015, I haven't seen 16 yet, but the spending in 2015 on IT globally is $4 trillion US dollars. By the way, that's not a typo, that really is a T. $4 trillion US dollars will be spent on IT in 2015 globally. If as Accenture estimates, 80% of that revenue will flow through the indirect channel, that means there's about $3+ trillion worth of revenue moving through distribution and partners, and I'm not including non-technology partners like insurance agents and things like that. I'm talking technology partners and technology distributors will handle $3+ trillion worth of business this year. And to me, that really underscores the fact that the spotlight in 2015 and beyond is very, very firmly on indirect channel. If you look back a couple of decades, and if you could see my gray hair, you would know that I had the ability to look back a couple of decades. But I remember when ERP became so important. Getting everything to flow together from an operations perspective was, in the 90s, a real differentiator for people's businesses. In the aughts, it was Salesforce automation, CRM tools, and I was a bag-carrying salesperson at the time, and I very clearly remember the first time I was asked, as a salesperson, to take my contact list and my account list out of my spreadsheet, and I'd like to suggest that it was Microsoft Excel, but I think the reality was I don't even think Excel was around then, but I was told to take my account list out of a spreadsheet and put it in this Salesforce automation tool, and that would be a real differentiator for our company. Marketing and the arrival of marketing automation platform tools like Marketo and Eloqua and Pardot, that kind of arrived in the 10s, and I know because at that point in time I was driving marketing for a couple of companies, and we spent a lot of time investing in these marketing automation platforms as a way to differentiate our business. Now, the very interesting thing is, now with the spotlight so firmly on indirect channels, I have not seen quite as much of a recognition in the market about the need for technology solutions to enable that, the way ERP, CRM tools, and marketing automation platforms did in prior decades. But really, one of the big predictions that we have is that is all about to change. So all of these things together, this adds up to why we're here. So with no further ado, I propose that we go ahead and get started. We're going to run through these 7 predictions, and I'm excited to do this simply because we're really good at seeing what lies right ahead of us. Joking, of course, because there's the manhole right in front of me. Here's our best shot. Here's our best guess. So let's go through this. The first thing that we're calling out is the requirement for the customer experience that you invest in as a company to expand to include indirect channel partners. I'm showing some data on the screen that I took from a separate report that I got, again, from Accenture, but this is a little fresher. This is about 6 months ago, where they said the following things, and I'm quoting this right out of the report. They said that they found in their research that 65% of the people they interviewed had switched brands or providers at least one time in the past year because of poor service. They had a bad experience with a brand or the provider. Accenture goes on to conclude that 82% of them could have remained with that provider if only the provider had given them a better customer experience. So I'm not trying to tell you that customer experience is important. I have a solid hunch that you know that, and that you buy into that. What I'm recommending that you consider is, if you are one of the companies that has either 80 to 100% or any amount of your revenue that flows through the channel, I'm suggesting that your partner program, and in some ways your partner portal, is the handshake that you're giving to 80% of your customers. And even though we see people understanding and agreeing with that, I still see a huge number of companies where the investment in the corporate.com website dramatically outweighs the investment in the partner program and the partner portals and all of the tools and methodologies and resources, even people resources, that surround that partner program. So what we're suggesting with this is you really need to look at this as channels matter, and the handshake that you're giving to your customers and your partners is critically important. So I'm going to go ahead and jump onto the next slide and give you what I hope is a kind of proof point. And I've tried to, don't look very carefully, because I've tried to obscure whose website I stole this from, because it's a great company. I have great admiration for them. In the past, when I've done websites, I've modeled my websites on what they do. On the left, you see the .com website for the company that I'm referring to, and on the right, you see the partner portal for the same website. And I'm asking you to analyze this and say, where is the investment going? I can see millions of dollars going into the .com website on the left, and I can see much less of an investment going into the partner portal. And I can understand why, because not everybody thinks about that partner portal the way I believe they should. I'm going to finish off this first prediction quickly just by showing you a quote. This is from Serious Decisions just a couple months ago. Maria said, "A great experience is often hard to find for channel partners that have grown used to suppliers with whom doing business can only be described as less than optimal." So Maria concludes, she says, "Our research indicates that less than 20% of partners consistently visit supplier portals." She says that this, obviously, the onus for solving this problem falls to the suppliers, to the vendors, to you and to me, to find ways to improve that partner engagement. It truly, if 80%, are not using the portals, they're not getting the value out of all of the work and effort that you have put into creating the awesome channel programs that you've created. So the first thing that we're saying is that our first prediction is channel executives, which I assume most of you are, channel executives in 2016 are going to get religion. They're going to get fire and passion around that partner experience. Second thing is CMOs finally get their way. And I may be a little bit prejudiced on this one because I am a CMO. By the way, the tug of war that you see going on the screen, this is a tug of war that we see existing between marketing on the right and IT on the left. And I, again, mean no offense to any IT people, but we're going to talk kind of very frankly about IT for just a moment. And in case you're wondering, I can tell you how you can know that marketing is on the right and IT is on the left. There's really two ways. Number one, marketing is always right. And number two, marketing is winning that tug of war because, as you can see, IT is closer to the white line. So my prediction is CMOs are really going to run away with what they need this year. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. 2016, I mean, even the last half of 2015, the marketing world has dramatically changed. Tools become available now so quickly, and there's a very short life cycle for a new marketing tool where it can provide me a competitive advantage in the market that I work in. But in order to stay relevant and keep ahead of my competition, I have to fully embrace these things. Social media. I have to find tools that are mobile responsive. When I look at the marketing work that our company is doing, now, by the end of 2015, right now, more than half of the responses that we have to our marketing campaigns come from mobile platforms. You've got to be responsive. Personalized. We saw some technology a couple months ago that allowed us to do advertising retargeting. I can go retarget people that have visited my website with ads that I can personalize to them. I can find out their name. I probably shouldn't tell you this because I'm going to scare you all off my website. But for a while, I was the only one doing it, and I never got retargeted by other people in this personalized way. Now, 3 months later, I get retargeted by my first name all the time. Dave, don't you want to finish buying that car you were looking at? I mean, things like that. So I'm suggesting, the last thing I say there is now, I'm suggesting that you have to be current, and all of these things add up to something that fits well with marketing, but really doesn't fit as well with IT. And I'm going to reference right now a research that was done by Gartner, and I apologize, I don't have enough time to do this one justice, but if you haven't read Gartner's excellent report on the requirements for IT organizations to be bimodal, you really should look at it. They list, you can see in the blue graph there, they list on the left side what marketing, on the right side, what marketing people want. I want my IT team to be sprinters. I want them to be agile and give me access to brand new technologies and help me put together the analytics to know if they're working. What do they want? They want to be marathon runners. They're in this for the long haul. And I appreciate the fact that their primary objective has traditionally been maintaining stability. But Gartner was predicting that a lot of organizations trying to embrace this bimodal IT model would fail because they're trying to apply this traditional IT mentality of stability, slow moving. We don't try anything, until we've isolated it and done a 6-month proof of concept, and all of these things have to come together before we're willing to adopt a new technology. I totally respect that. I have no issues with that. I just want you to know that doesn't meet my needs. And the tussle that we have has resulted in me saying, great, in the traditional stuff, in our website, in our email servers, do what you need to. On all this other stuff, retargeting and social media and all of the marketing platforms and tools that are available on a weekly basis, I have to just do those on my own. The unfortunate thing about it is I really would prefer to have IT working kind of side by side with me, but I need gigahertz and they're mostly megahertz. And again, I truly don't mean that in a bad way. I just think that's how they're driven. So I think that in 2016, those of you that are responsible for marketing and through channel marketing will find yourselves kind of out in front, adopting, perfecting, and using a lot of new tools in a very agile way. And IT will be really angry with you, but you got to do it. That's what's going to drive your business. Okay, so there's number 2. Okay, number 3 is gamification. We're suggesting that it's game on time for gamification, and again, I want you to understand. I think I was predicting that gamification was going to be a big deal 3 years ago, so I know that the concept itself is not terribly new. What I'm suggesting is, if you sell through indirect channels, there is a way that you can and should, and I believe will through 2016, implement gamification in your business. And the great thing about it is you're surrounded by channel partners who are by nature extremely competitive. By the way, if you're not surrounded by competitive channel partners, I believe you signed up with the wrong channel partners. But I really think that you can. I really think that you can turn that competitive nature to your benefit. By the way, somebody asked the question about CMO and what does it mean? CMO is a Chief Marketing Officer, so I'm talking specifically about people with responsibility for marketing. And by the way, I'll hold off on the acronyms as much as I can. But we're suggesting that that the competitiveness of your channel partners is really a good thing, and you should use it a couple of ways. First of all, and by gamification, I'm not implying that that you need to do kind of flashing lights, disco balls, Frogger on your partner portal in order to keep your partners interested. What I'm suggesting is it's possible for you to create the activities that you want your channel partners to engage in and score them. In the example that I'm giving here in the top panel, and this is one of our customers' portals that I'm showing this off of, they're scoring the activities that they want their partners to do. The more you want them to do it, the more points you give that activity. And then at the bottom, and I've masked a lot of the data on this, but in that bottom graphic, they show what I would consider to be a leaderboard. Who's climbing up in your channel program? Who's performing what's the top 10%? And also, by the way, what's the bottom 10%? And my legal department has told me in no uncertain terms I'm not allowed to talk about culling your channel program, so I'm not going to bring it up at all. If I had brought it up, what I would have said was it's healthy for you and your overall channel program, and by the way, also healthy for your individual channel partners for you to periodically go through your channel program and drop the bottom 10% off or 5% off or whatever you think is the right number. It's healthy for your individual partners to know that if they fail to engage in the best practices that you're outlining for them, there are implications. I really believe that there's nothing more detrimental to an effective channel program than allowing it to continue to bulge at the seams with non-productive channel partners. So while I've agreed with our legal team not to talk about that, if I had spoken about it, that's exactly what I would have said. So something needs to be done, and what I'm suggesting is gamification might be a great way to do it. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The black graphic that you see on the screen right now this is very embarrassing for me to admit, but I am a gamer, and this is something that I captured out of an online game engine. And what it's telling me is I've got 38 achievements left to unlock in this game. So what's in it for a game vendor to offer me 38 more level ups? Clearly, what they want to do is they want to have me playing the game a lot more with this drive to level up. Well, I'm suggesting that in a lot of circumstances, you want the exact same thing for your channel partners. If you go through the process, and it's heavy lifting, by the way, but if you go through the process of creating the perfect partner program and all of the perfect collateral for your partners, and you do a partner portal that's the best ever, and you're getting 5 to 10 logins a week or a month, you just wasted a lot of time and effort, and you're not getting the value out of the program that you should be doing. So choose those things that you want them to do, and it may be as simple as you have to log into the portal once a day and check and see if we've pushed any new leads your way. Whatever you want your channel partners to do, gamify it, track it, report on it. And you can tell by the fact that I've got the screenshot here from a gaming platform that's 3-4 years old. Again, nothing new to the concept of gamification, but the implementation of it, I think it really is going to move into creating that awesome interactive customer experience through your portal and then driving your partners to take advantage of that. And that is the way you're going to get your involvement on a one-on-one basis with your channel partners way, way up. And I actually do have a slide towards the end where I'll back that up with a little bit more data. So that's number 4. Number 3. Number 4 is a gross overstatement. To be frank, there's no way this is really going to happen. But just tongue-in-cheek, let's explore what a great thing it would be if it did. I'm suggesting that the concept here is it's critically important for you to not just sign up new partners and hope things go well, but to do whatever needs to be done to drive an effective onboard. And so what I did just for fun is I went on LinkedIn and I searched for jobs that were available with the title Director of Onboarding. And I found none, not one. And so I would be foolish to suggest that this really was going to become the hottest job. But I do think that through this year, that the scarcity mentality of having to do more with less will really kick in, and people will realize that it's not just the recruitment that's important, but it's really the onboarding. If you invest in tools and people and processes to drive an effective onboard of a newly recruited partner, you will really greatly increase the return on investment that you get. And I don't offer processes around that, but I see a lot of channel companies that consult with people around how to drive a ramp of a newly recruited partner. The one thing that I would strongly suggest for you, and I had this experience personally in a prior company where we were north of a $100 million company, 99.9% indirect channel, with only very rarely were there any direct deals, and our regional salespeople recruited channel partners, and we didn't have anybody in the corporate headquarters that was responsible for successfully onboarding them. And so out of every 10 new partners we recruited, there was maybe one that would ramp to profitability in the time frame we felt like that would happen. And the most embarrassing thing is, when they failed to ramp, we didn't really know why, because nobody was holding their hand and harvesting those best practices. Hey, you just ramped to revenue in 45 days. How did you do it? Tell me everything you did, because I need to copy that and paste it across the other 9 that are failing to ramp. And you can probably do that just on your own if you make it important enough in your organization, but I really strongly recommend you hire a person to manage that and own that and get some tools and technologies and methodologies in place to make that happen. So we're thinking that 2016 that really will arrive. That's number 4. Okay, number 5. Big data comes to the channel. I've pasted in a couple of slides here about analytics, and the point that I want to make with this is, folks, analytics really are omnipresent. If you don't believe me, come look at the reports I get from my Android watch as it tracks me everywhere I walk and reports back how many calories I've burned and how many steps I've taken. Analytics are omnipresent. That one is a Salesforce. This one right here, this is Google Analytics showing, website traffic and viewership. Analytics are everywhere. This is my wife's Pinterest page and how many. Everywhere you go, you can track and report on these analytics for what's going on in one particular area. Well, okay, not every area. I'm going to say almost every area. There's one area that I'm personally very interested in where I don't see or haven't seen the level of analytics that I feel like it needs to have. Here's the dialogue. Hey, vendor says to partner, how's your business this quarter? Partner says, you know what? I think we're on track. Vendor says, on track for what? Partner says, I'm not 100% sure, but it's going to be epic. Now, my vendor is wondering, epic good or epic bad, and my partner is thinking, vodka. So, sitting over drinks, having a quarterly business review is really not the way to drive your partner program. And I know for a fact that those of you who have direct sales organizations, you don't do that with your direct sales. You're much closer to the slide I pasted in about about that Salesforce type of analytics. With your direct sales team, you know their revenue last quarter, you know their quota this quarter and how they're tracking it. You see their pipeline, you know what the big deals, what the high probability percentages are. If you've got that for your direct sales team, it really begs the question, why don't you have it for your indirect channel? If your indirect channel represents 80% plus of your corporate revenue, I'm suggesting you need to get something in place to track that indirect channel revenue from a very, very analytical perspective. And I've managed a lot of channel programs and channel partners and sales organizations, and I know what quarterly business reviews, or QBRs, I know what they typically go like. If I have an hour scheduled for a QBR, I'll spend the first half hour arguing with the partner about what they did last quarter. I show $4 million. No, we did 5. Well, where are you getting that last million from? I know we did 5. I'm sure of it. And it's a lot of back and forth because in the past there haven't been tools for this. I'm suggesting, maybe even predicting, that in 2016 you and I and all of us will have to get our heads around the implications of big data and analytics in that space. And you're going to want, if you do have a great partner program and a really good partner portal right now, and you're only using your partner portal to push content out to your partner channel, great, you're getting exactly 1/2 the value of your portal. You need to be using a tool, and honestly, in this one, there are a lot of different ways to solve this, but you need to start using a tool to flow data back from them and see how things are going and drive predictability and repeatability and sustainability into your indirect channel business. And I really feel strongly that 2016, that concept will really catch on fire. And again, Impartner has tools for this, but a lot of people are starting to recognize this and starting to provide tools. We strongly recommend that you check some of these things out and get them in place. A quarterly business review done, and I've pasted in just an example of the way we do this, and this is just an example of one particular customer of ours, their partner portal. The graphic on the left is what the inside sales organization sees. The people back in the vendor can log into Salesforce, and on a partner-by-partner basis, they get this information, a lot of information presented to them. But at the same time, the partners themselves can come to this company's partner portal and log in and see and get a report that's specific to them. Here's how you're doing against your targets. And the targets are both financial and non-financial. So a target could be, financially, it could be, here's what your quota was last quarter and what you generated. Here's what your quota is this quarter and where you are. No argument about it because I've got the printout right here, and I can show you the deals that we're tracking, as well as non-financial. Look, you were supposed to do 2 marketing events and get 3 of your salespeople certified this quarter, and I can show you exactly how you're tracking to that. And before you sit down with that partner, they can log into the portal and see exactly how they're doing so that you can spend your time working towards a good plan moving forward rather than arguing about what's real and what isn't. So that's prediction number 5 about analytics and why they're so terribly important. Number 6, I heard this phrase in a webinar that the analyst group Forrester was giving. They used a great phrase that they referred to as bad marketing at scale. And what they meant by that was if you're scaling up a partner program right now and your individual partners are bad at marketing, what are you going to accomplish by scaling them up? And that's what they're talking about. In fact, the quote that they gave, I'll just read this to you. They said, they call it bad marketing at scale when channel partners left to their own devices launch programs into the market without the firm's branding, or they dilute, confuse, or damage the brand. So in several prior companies, I've been on the marketing side of the equation, and it really is critically important to work through your partners. And on the next slide, I'll show you some of the benefits of going to market through that partner channel. But it's critically important to do it. But as a marketing person, I quiver to think about that because I've spent so much time and money and energy working on our brand, and our brand is perfect and it's the way we want it. And every time my channel partners touch it, they get it wrong, and they dilute my brand and they dilute my message, and it drives me crazy. So I'm thinking that there are things in the wings that are going to help with this. So we're predicting that whether or not the problem is solved, it will absolutely be tackled. This is a little bit cynical, but the traditional partner plan is recruit a partner, penetrate their customer base, and by penetrating their customer base, I mean they introduce you to their current list of customers and allow you to close deals with that list. And it's like the lather, rinse, repeat. Recruit, sell to that existing customer base, repeat. And then those partners have the tendency to linger in the channel program for a long time. I think that certainly is a go-to-market strategy. I just don't think it's a very good go-to-market strategy. A lot of marketing is real market creation and demand generation work. You may have the world's best product, but the world may not know they need your product, and so you've got to work with partners that will help you drive the value proposition of your product into the market. And the value of doing that with partners that are good at it is it really amplifies your reach to the market. You'll ramp leads through them faster, which means faster revenue ramp. You get to control and protect your brand, which is terribly important to us as marketing people. We care a lot about that. You get insight into their capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. So it really is important. And earlier on, I mentioned that the Google concept of the zero moment of truth. In an environment where there's nobody between you as a vendor and your end customer, you have to enable a big channel of social media and blogging and reviews, et cetera. Forrester has said that as much as 80% of the people that buy technology buy on the recommendation of the partner. I saw this in a prior company. We used that to our benefit in a prior company where we would inject partners earlier in because for some reason end customers tend to have a higher degree of, this is terrible to say, this is a really bad indictment, but they tend to have a higher level of confidence in a local partner that they've worked with for a long time, that's right around the corner for them, that's a real face, not a voice on the phone, and so they're much more likely, and 80% of the people that were in this survey would buy the product that was recommended by the partner. So if you want to inject yourself into that decision-making process well before Google's zero moment of truth, you need to get your partners involved. And so we, again, whether the prediction is that this problem is solved or not kind of remains to be seen, but we really anticipate a dramatic increase, and I feel confident predicting that because I've been reading so much from different writers and analysts around the concept of TCMA, through channel marketing automation, a series of tools from a variety of vendors that allow you to do these things. Go to market through your partner, helping amplify your reach, and yet at the same time keeping a lot of control over your brand and your messaging, et cetera. And so the amount of articles and analyst reports I'm reading about this really convince me that this is something that will catch on fire in the next 12 months. So that for me is prediction number 6. Okay, the last prediction, unless I happen to have a bonus prediction. I'm not going to, no spoiler alert on that, but number 7 here is that channel partners will swipe right for the perfect vendor, and obviously that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke around Tinder, but it may not be too tongue-in-cheek for too much longer, because I really think that vendors, and I'm not touting our horn, but there are other vendors that will recognize this and will work on this. But I'm talking about, I use the phrase PRHD, partner relationship hyperactivity disorder, where really partner companies that I've worked with in the past do kind of have the tendency to bounce around from partner to partner, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason that they do that, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. If you haven't seen the movie, The Martian, I'll just tell you that he needs to get off the planet and back up to the spaceship, and he's got one shot to do it. And he puts all of his resources together, and he says, these resources here are enough to buy me one shot to launch off the face of the planet, and if I don't get it right, it's game over. I'm suggesting that there's a little bit of that applies somewhat to the partner channel as well, where the partner community does tend to live on a knife edge of viability. I said that they bounce from vendor to vendor. They don't invest deeply as often as they invest shallow. When they feel like they've got the right vendor, they will invest deeply. And by deeply, I'm talking about certifications, cooperative marketing campaigns, where they spend and you spend, and hiring salespeople that have expertise in whatever you're trying to sell, voice over IP or whatever you're trying to sell them. They'll only invest heavily in that when they feel like they've got the right vendor. Having worked in the partner channel, I totally recognize that that if you do that a couple of times and it doesn't work, it truly can be game over, for that partner. So there's a limited window for them to prove viability. When they find it, they go deep. What we will realize, what we have realized and will continue to emphasize is it must be mutually advantageous. And I list a lot of things that are good for the vendor, and I list a lot of things that are good for the partner. But really, the concept or the process of matching vendors to partners, helping vendors choose the right partners, helping partners choose the right vendors, is something that really will see a lot of development work and adoption in 2016. From your side, from your perspective, from the side of the vendor, the tools that you need to do this are those same analytical tools that we talked about in the big data section, where you need to be able to see how partners have been performing. And I know it's a bit of a conundrum, because you don't have that data until you have the partner selling for you for a couple of quarters. But people may find ways for you to maybe FICO is a good example, where you'll be able to sit down with a partner and ask them not what's your credit rating, but what's your channel readiness rating. And I really have seen from several different consulting companies reports that help track that, so that when you go to recruit a channel partner, you'll hand them a form, and it's a 3-page form, and you say, tell me what your capabilities are in these areas, and how much do you pay your salespeople, and what's the percentage of base versus commission, and it's page after page of these very detailed questions, and you analyze that data, and you say, you know what, based on these responses, I think you're the partner I want. Well, guess what? Your partners are doing the same thing back with you. They want to know what the margin is. Is it a good competitive fit with their product lineup? How well will you support them with marketing, et cetera? And when those things come together, it really is great. And it helps you develop this great indirect channel that's less expensive than a direct channel. Believe it or not, it's less expensive. Typically, high-growth companies spend north of 20% of their revenue on a direct sales model. Channels cost, somewhere south of that, although you can, if you want. One of the nice things about it is you can choose to enrich your program from time to time, but it does tend to be a less expensive model, and it has a lot more scale to it. We talked about this right at the first. If you're trying to scale out your business, this is a great way to get scale fast and inexpensive. And I'm so enamored of this concept that I really want to launch a matchmaking website, not eHarmony. I'm going to call it C-Harmony, for channel harmony. And I want to introduce vendors to partners and partners to vendors, and we'll all just live happily. interestingly, I did find some research, and this is almost a year old now, and so it's just a little bit dated. But the channel company did some research asking how critically important the partner portal is in that matchmaking process, and 63% said either extremely important or, so number, what's that, 7 and number 6. So either 6 on a scale of 7 or 7 on a scale of 7. 63% said it's in the top 2 level of criticality for them. So as your partners are looking for a vendor, as they're flipping through the vendor yellow pages, looking for a solution provider that they can partner with, going to them with a strong partner program with great terms is super. Going to them with that and a powerful channel portal is incredibly powerful, as you see from the data here. So I'm suggesting that is something that you must, and again, I think that you will really focus on is getting the right partners. And I'm predicting, whether or not it's us, I think somebody's going to come up with and I should probably very quickly trademark C-Harmony because that'll go fast, but someone's going to come up with a matchmaking service that gives an analytically driven approach to kind of kicking tires on vendors and partners. Okay, and I did a little bit of a spoiler alert. There is a bonus prediction. I'm predicting that all of you, because you care about this, by the virtue of the fact that you just spent 46 minutes with me talking about this, it's clear that you care about the indirect channel. I'm predicting you're going to be wildly successful, and you'll have an awesome and lucrative 2016. That's it. We have in the attachment and links portion of the BrightTalk control panel, there is a download available to you. It's an infographic that has a lot of this data in it. If you would like, please do not hesitate to pop me an email or hit us on Twitter at ImpartnerPRM and let us know if you agree with this. Let us know if there's something that we missed out. And also, feel free to let us know if there's more information we can give you about any of this. But I really want to thank you for spending 3/4 of an hour of your day with me. And I hope it's been valuable to you. And here's to a stunningly successful 2016. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much.